you something and I'm feeling kinda blue. Just needing to put my boots on. Just needing to get outside. I don't want nothing, no more TV. I could walk forever, just you and me. Going up is my intention. Just a little green and a little bit high. Well, we've got a very cold morning. There's a bit of frost in the ground. It's playing havoc with my bladder. I just got off a bus at Forgandenny there and just come up a track with reasonably well signposted towards Castle Law. There was a fort there that there was nothing at, and you're not sure which way to go. And today I'm just going, it's just a short 7-mile walk up onto Culteuchar Hill, the trig point there. It's only about 313 metres above sea level, and from there we'll be able to look down on a quite magnificent Iron Age fort. And then we will drop down to have a slightly better look at that fort, and then we'll just head down off the hill into Bridge of Earn. I mean, this is exactly what you need at this time of year. You know, there's not much light in the day, it gets dark quite early. So it's a small hill, it's fairly easy going. I mean, I've not been on this hill before, but on looking at the maps, I think this is a fairly easy hill. So you'll get a bit of exercise, great views, and a wee bit of history along the way. It's just what you need to kind of perk you up at this kind of bleak time of the year. I get a train from Glasgow to Perth, and then a bus from Perth to Forgandenny. I got a bus back to Perth from Bridge of Earn. The last couple of videos I touched on the theme of public transport, so let's just remain in that theme for a moment. At Perth bus station, I mean, I check the bus times, train times, so that I know exactly what's going on. It's a number 17 bus that I got from Perth bus station to Forgandenny. I knew what stance in the bus station it would leave from. But it turns out there's actually 2 number 17 buses that are similar, but they don't both go the same way. I didn't know this. I mean, the number 17 bus that I saw, an Culteuchar bus that would take me to Forgandenny, was going to leave from Stans 1. There was a bus came in, a number 17 bus going to Culteuchar, but it stopped in Stans 3. The bus in Stans 1 didn't have anything on the front, then it lit up, and I asked the driver, she said, yes, this is a number 17 bus. I said, are you going to Forgandenny? Nope. As it turned out, as I say, there's 2 17 buses. I mean, if you've got 2 buses that the route is similar, but they go slightly different ways, then one should be called an A or a B or something, like a 17 and a 17A. Having two buses with the same number that both go slightly different ways, it's absurd. What? Nobody thought that one up. And also, to jump from buses to trains, but remaining on the theme of public transport, on checking train times back from Perth to Glasgow, I see a 2-hour gap between about 10 past 5 in the evening and 20 past 7 in the evening, that roughly 2-hour period. There's no trains. And even the M8 bus from Perth bus station to Glasgow has a similar kind of 2-hour period, which seems to be a sort of rush hour for people working. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I don't quite get it. But I see this 2-hour slot where there's nothing. It's just ridiculous. What on earth is going on? And if I have kind of misread the situation, somebody could tell me, it would help, you know. Anyway, so let's just go up onto the hill and heat ourselves up. Right, I think I'm in shot. I'm going to get wet knees, but never mind. Oh. So I'm now in Castle Law Hillfort. A wee bit windy up here, and it's very cold. My nose is running amok. At this time of year, this is probably the best time of year for viewing hill forts, certainly from the air. And the air, you know, from an airplane or a, I forgot what you call it, but from the air, you can get a much better view of them because it's very low sun at this time of year, and if you're taking footage early in the morning or late in the afternoon when the sun's very low, then what happens is the sun casts long shadows, and if you get a little bank above the ground, that will cast a shadow, and it becomes much easier to see the layout of features that you might not otherwise notice. I'm sure there's been quite a few archaeological sites been discovered simply from aerial photographs, sites that no one perhaps knew anything about. You can probably get a really good view of this hill fort on Google Earth, which I'll show you just now. You can perhaps get an idea of where it is in the landscape and just how it looks a bit closer. The actual layout of this thing, and this is a very well preserved fort. I mean, in addition to outer defensive banks and ditches, there is an inner wall, and you can still see that wall. That wall is still above ground, at least partially, which I've never seen before. And when you look at it from above, this walled area is quite curious in that it forms not so much an oval shape, I don't know what you call it, but it's maybe the shape of a running track, that sort of shape. And inside that walled area, you can clearly see the layout of structures and things. Absolutely fascinating. There was an archaeological survey undertaken, and I think it was 2010, I think published in 2011, where in addition to aerial photographs, which are absolutely amazing, you can really get a good idea of the site from them. But they also made drawings which are even more amazing, because in addition to the outer defensive banks, the inner walled area and the structures inside, you can see a lot of circular features without question were at one time accommodation for people. I don't know whether they were hut circles or round houses. Indeed, I don't know the difference between the two. A round house is a wee bit bigger than a hut circle. But either way, it's where people lived. And you can then see just how extensive this site was. This was a big hill fort, and a lot of people lived here. At least until the Romans got here. What happened then is anybody's guess. I could well imagine it may have been occupied when the Romans went, perhaps by the Picts. Because like a lot of these hill forts, and this one in particular, this sort of layout from the air is kind of, it's not a clear picture, and sites like this were often used and reused and rebuilt and kind of hashed over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, sort of newer features being built over the top of the earlier ones and such like, which can make it a confusing picture. But there's just no getting away from the fact that all in all, it's a fascinating site. And I would like to thank Doogie Milne Photography for suggesting the site. I mean, there's hill forts all over Scotland, but this is certainly one of the best preserved that I have ever seen. And Doogie Milne Photography has a YouTube site. It's definitely worth checking out. Look at this bit of wall here. That's a well constructed wall. That's not just thrown together quickly. Some of these bits of stone almost look shaped. And you can maybe tell by just how high my voice went there as to how surprised I am. Shaped. That's about an octave higher, isn't it? I mean, I think the fact that there is so much stone remaining above ground, and that some of this looks shaped to me, it almost suggests to me that it may well have been in use and inhabited after the Romans left. We could be talking about a Pictish fort here, after it was abandoned, and and after it had been used and probably created in the Iron Age. I mean, in the first statistical account, dating to 1792, they do talk about the stone walls and the structures inside the fort, but they also talk about a more recent, I think they call it a half fort or a tower, that is still standing at that time, that had apparently been built by, in some earlier period, by some former Lord Ruthven. So, there has been building work taking place after it, definitely after it was an Iron Age fort. I mean, I don't know where that structure that Lord Ruthven built was sited. Might well have been here, which could possibly explain the nice stonework here. But whoever built it did a good job, because a lot of it's still here. So from here I'm just going to drop down to an old ruined steading there, and I'll follow a track downhill, off the hill, in the direction of Bridge of Erne. Those skills that were developed in the Iron Age, perhaps carried on into Pictish times, that allowed us to create such magnificent hill forts as the one we've just seen, Castle Law, have not left us. These are skills that have just been passed down the generations and are still very much with us today. As we can see here, it's a wee pile of stones. It's taken great skill to create that little pile of stones, and quite often when I'm out and about in the countryside I come upon little piles of stones. Often they're marking something. I think this one's marking the path that'll take you over the stile and onto the hill fort. But I think for the people who are able to create such things, it's a skill that should be, it's something you should put on your CV, so that when you're at a job interview, I forgot what I was looking at there. I was looking at the pull-out screen. Look at the camera lens, Edward. Yeah, so when you're at a job interview, and they say, what do you think what skills do you think you can bring to the job? And you will be able to say, well, I'm quite adept at creating little piles of stones. And that should be an interesting interaction after that, because you'll either get ejected from the premises or be given the job. I'm tempted to add to it, but I think like one of these games, is it Kerplunk? As soon as I put in on the top, the whole thing will collapse, and I'll have destroyed something very special. Well, this is probably a good place to end the video. I'm just coming down off the hill and I will make for Bridge of Erne. Then from there I'll eventually make for home. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've maybe said before, but sometimes at this time of year you kind of need to give yourself a bit of a push to get out there, and almost without exception it pays dividends because you just really enjoy it. And as I said towards the start of the video, you know, we've had a good bit of exercise today. It's not taken that long, a couple of hours. We've got great views and a wee bit of history along the way. It's just been fantastic. I'm Eddie Burns, take care and I'll see you again.
In a big white space.